Another important consideration to keep in mind when implementing DHCP is how is DHCP or how might it work with remote access? And you're answering the question, how do the remote access clients get their IP addresses? Well, you can configure it so that they get those IP addresses through DHCP server. So what we're trying to solve here is a problem where we've got a RAS client who's dialing into the network, because the idea is when you're using a remote access connection is that we just use some different communication lines, but other than that, it looks exactly like you're sitting right at the network using the network. So we use different communication lines. We can dial in, we can create a virtual private connection, which we'll talk about in modules to come or chapters to come. And we establish a connection to the RAS server, which acts as a gateway to the rest of the network, which actually routes traffic from one interface to another interface. But once that's done, to communicate on the network, the RAS client needs an IP address. How does it get that IP address? Well, the RAS server can be configured with its own pool of IP addresses, or, and this is the default, the RAS server just goes and gets a few of the IP addresses that are available in the DHCP scopes that have been configured, and then gives those to the RAS client. Let's show you where this is configured from, at least be able to identify how this is done. And it is done by looking at the properties of the server itself. So you right-click on the server, choose Properties, and then from the RAS server, the Routing Remote Access Server Properties dialog box, click on the IP tab, and then IP address assignment. You can assign IP addresses by using DHCP, which again is the default, or create a static address pool. And when you create a static address pool, you're really configuring just a mini DHCP here on the RAS server. But that's how it's done. Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol automatically allocates IP addresses. It takes them at a chunk of 10 IP addresses at a time, are allocated for the routing remote access clients, and then those IP addresses are then handed to RAS clients as they establish connections. That's if they're needed. If this is a static IP address, then of course that's not needed, but most of the times RAS clients are also going to be DHCP clients as well.